I think what caught me off guard is when I first moved here, I came to see what was going on and what was not going on. The first week I came here, it was during the summertime. 6 kids took their life that identified as LGBTQ plus that were youth, and I said, "Whoa, there's something, and that should not be happening." And it was just daunting coming here, and I knew I couldn't step away from it. I was at the time in Mexico doing some work in an orphanage there, and I couldn't sleep that night. And I was like, a lot of kids are going to take their life. The young kids, I know what it's like to, although they may be meaning something else or something is being said in any form of any community, how kids hear it is completely different, and how these youth are hearing it, and coming from an understanding of, oh, I bet you the youth have heard what this policy is saying, and I bet you unfortunately, a lot of kids are going to take their life. And I couldn't sleep that night, and I never wanted to move to Utah, and I just woke up the next morning. I couldn't sleep, and I woke up the next morning getting ready for the day, and I just looked in the mirror, and it was like, you have to move to Utah. And I was like, what?
Stephanie Larson was the founder and CEO of Encircle. She was looking at articles about the suicide epidemic that is still ravaging Utah, but definitely had a lot of alarm bells going off in 2015 with the suicide rate rising 4 times from 2013 to 2015, and suicide among 12 to 25-year-olds being the leading cause of death, overshadowing vehicular deaths, which is the only state in America that's the case. And so there's this real atmosphere of like, the young people are killing themselves in the state. What are we going to do about it? And her thought was, let's make a home for LGBTQ kids, because these kids are killing themselves at having suicide attempts 3 times more than their heterosexual peers. Transgender kids are 5 times more likely to have a suicide attempt. So she said, let's make a home, and the Encircle Provo House was born out of that.
Statistics, and I'm hoping you can absolutely fact check this, but there is a large portion of homeless teens in the country, and specifically in Utah, that are LGBTQ. If a family is rejecting of their LGBTQ child, the instance of all risky behaviors, drug, sexual, all are increased by around 8%, and that also includes suicide and homelessness. All of those things are directly affected by family acceptance. And as Mama Dragons, our main focus is on helping and supporting moms to fully accept and support their kids.
One of the biggest tragedies of that situation of becoming homeless or getting kicked out of your own house isn't just that you don't have somewhere to sleep. It's that usually your most important, social network is ripped out from under you.
My name is Tyler Domgaard. I am the program manager here at the John Williams Encircle home. My pronouns are he, him, his. Yeah, so Encircle, we bring the family and the community together to help LGBTQ plus young people to thrive. I like to say that these kids, the biggest thing that we do is give these kids a space to thrive. Like, there's not much that we need to do to enable them to thrive. Just society has boxed them in so close and tight that it's, once they have space to breathe, they're gonna do the thriving on their own. They're gonna blow your mind what they can accomplish when they're just allowed some space to be themselves.
With Volunteers of America, Utah, our mission is to support the bridge of self-reliance and a more helpful life for vulnerable populations in our community, more specifically for individuals struggling with mental illness, addiction, and also homelessness. And we're just trying our best to make sure we're giving them the resources and planting the seed of empowerment, in all these individuals, so that way they can hopefully get on their feet and have self-reliance and just kind of rock out their lives the way that they want to. First off, with all of our individuals experiencing homelessness here at the shelter, at the facility, we meet them where they're at. What that means is, wherever they're coming from, a lot of our individuals in this community, there's a lot of stigma that comes and weight that comes with identifying as part of the LGBTQ plus community, which is different than what I've experienced in New York, where I came from, working with that population there. Is absolutely different here, because there's a lot of weight that comes with it for some reason. And I see a lot of the youth saying, because I put makeup on, I was asked to leave my house, or because I have a crush on the boy or whatever, I talk to my parents about it, I don't feel safe in my home, or I've been asked to leave my home. With that, and meeting our clients where they're at, we recognize that the support across the board, we're serving with no labels. It's about human beings and meeting the clients heart to heart. And if they got a beating heart and they got some goals, let's support you for whatever that is. It doesn't matter who they're kissing or what gang they're affiliated with or whatever it may be. I think first, recognizing that everybody, as long as you have a beating heart and goals, will support you.
Our mission is very specifically to support, educate, and empower mothers who have LGBTQ kids. And everything we do is centered and focused around that. One question that a lot of parents ask, or a lot of people ask, is they kind of assume when a parent has an LGBTQ child that they will become an ally. And we meet parents where they are. And some parents, some mothers, their only ability is to just focus and love their child and learn how to support their child. Other mothers, over time, will expand and become tremendous allies to the whole community. So we meet moms where they are, and we catch those new moms that are just really confused and have great questions, and very experienced, compassionate mothers just embrace them.
If an individual happens to be kicked out of their home and they come here, which does happen in this community, unfortunately, they will first meet with diversion. Diversion here is kind of where any of the youth that are coming in, they meet with our staff, a diversion staff, and they kind of assess where they're at, what kind of struggles they're struggling with, what kind of support they've received already in the community, possibly within the resources on the streets. And a lot of them have not. A lot of our individuals coming here, they're new to the streets, and it's daunting and it's shocking, and it's very traumatizing to come to a shelter for these individuals. So diversion meets with them and says, okay, what's best for you? Sometimes we will divert them to other facilities in the community. We've partnered with Youth Futures, which is a great organization in Ogden, and they work a lot with minors who identify as LGBTQ+. So they hit diversion, and then we see what's best for them. And if the individual stays here, we set them up, give them a tour of the facility so they know the resources that we can offer. And our facility offers clothes, case management, housing case management, clinician. We do groups every week, or every day we do groups, so they can be a part of that. And we have clinicians that run groups that help with trauma, and a lot of individuals that are experiencing homelessness that identify in this community are absolutely experiencing trauma by being kicked out of their home. So we have clinicians that can be very hands-on with that. So they're given those resources and told when they can do that, and then they receive a bed for sure that night, and they get a bed, promised bed for that evening. And if they get on an SRP program, which we offer here, which is kind of an empowerment program for our youth if they're wanting to get off the streets, if they get on that, they get a promised bed for up to 3 months. So that's kind of in a nutshell the resources they can receive right up front. We do 3 meals a day here at the shelter, so they can get 3 meals. If they just want to come, they don't feel safe, and they just need kind of like a slowly getting used to the population and this facility, they just come for breakfast or lunch or dinner, and they just may stop in a little bit there, and then slowly they might feel more comfortable, because at the time maybe they're sleeping on a couch at a friend's house, and then finally once they're kind of maybe that didn't work out or something, they'll come here and stay with us and be fully supported by our staff, hopefully create a safe space for them, as we all try to do for all our clients here.
My first suggestions would be to get in contact with the Volunteers of America's Youth Homeless Shelter here in the city. We also have good relations with the Salt Lake City Youth Association, which has a homeless shelter. And so a lot of my job is to just stay well connected with the ecosystem of resources in the city that a homeless LGBTQ kid would need. An immediate Band-Aid is we have a whole network of parents that have come to us and told us that they have a couch or a spare bedroom that is there for anyone whoever needs it. And they're usually our first call. We get a message on our Facebook maybe once a month from either a kid who's just gotten kicked out or a kid who's looking at getting kicked out or is afraid that they're going to get kicked out. And so that's the main ones, is those homeless shelters, and then an amazing network of of parents that are mostly in the Mama Dragons network. These best advocates in the state are the parents of LGBTQ kids.
So, for example, if I were to come across a homeless teen, depending on the situation, I would very likely first of all ask them if they would like a hug. The funniest thing about, or saddest thing about that is many of our LGBTQ people who have been rejected have not been hugged or touched by a member of their family in a really long time. And so the first thing usually we ask is, do they want a hug? We find out, we usually will tell them that I specifically will tell them that they are beautiful and perfect exactly as they are. Then I will find them the official local resources that are around. I've seen that in Mama Dragons frequently. Hey, we've got a kid in Tennessee. What do we have? And you will see all of these moms jump in. Okay, first of all, you need to contact this organization. You need to contact this organization. Here's these different ones. And I've seen moms individually find official specific resources for kids and people to help them get into a safe spot as quickly as possible. And that's one of the beautiful things about this is there's so many women who have so much information, so much knowledge that we can, individual moms can find resources quite quickly to help people as quickly as possible. So if I was speaking with someone individually and not on the record, I would say you love the shit out of your kid. But I would say you love your child. You are never wrong when you choose to love your child. You're never wrong when you choose to listen and hear them. Please believe them when your child tells you that they are having these experiences that are very different from what you've experienced. Because when you're a cisgender, straight, white Mormon person living, specifically in our very, very LDS communities, you can't even begin to imagine or see or feel what your child is hearing and seeing and feeling.
Talking to, say Mormon parents or staunch Catholic parents who, again, have to find room in their belief system to love their kids unconditionally. That's really where it comes down to is these kids are deserving of love. Their parents just need to find a way to love them unconditionally. And that's a lot of the work that we do here. And that's why I like that we serve the whole family unit and not just the kids.
If somebody wanted to get involved with Encircle and want to contribute to the community themselves, are there ways for them to contact you guys, or what can the community do to volunteer?
Yeah, they can go to encircletogether.org /volunteer, and they can volunteer for us. Also, just on that main page, encircletogether.org, there's a tab that says volunteer. You can also, there's a little message thing that comes up in the corner, and we have an amazing member experience guy named Nate, who you can just message him directly, and Nate will, if you're wanting to volunteer at this house, Nate will just shoot me that message, and I'll be able to talk to you on the website.
I always tell people to come and serve in the kitchen. Yeah. And come and look our kids in the eyes as you serve them a meal. Sorry, I get emotional. Because that's where change happens for us as human beings. Those of us trying to serve, and this is not easy work. But when we take the time to get out of our heads and our agenda or labeling individuals, when we sit there and we serve them a meal, and these sweet kids are nothing but gracious, and most of them, and they say thank you, and they look you in the eyes, and you give them that time to look in the eyes, that is something for them, and that is something for us. And for me, when I take the time in my work, I'm so freaking blessed that I get to come in the morning and say good morning. I get to be a person that says good morning to these kids that have no one else but us as staff. And I get to come here, and that makes me so happy to be able to be somebody among a team that's amazing. And they say good morning to me, and that makes my day too. But taking those human moments when you come and serve and do volunteer work to look them in the eye and say, hey, have a good day, or whatever you want to say. But just taking that moment and look them in the eye, because that eye contact, that's what we do as humans. That exchange, you can read a soul almost. And if they trust or feel open enough to look somebody in the eye, it will just, for me, it feeds my soul. So I suggest come serve a meal. Simply that.